got mail. Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next hour, along with Katie.
Good morning.
Good
Me and my
morning.
cat are ready to rock and roll.
And Gal is here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Um, I guess Nick is busy this weekend. Spence is still traveling.
Busy partying on the beach in this nice weather.
I I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't show up, that's because he's doing something political somewhere in the state.
Sure.
Well, I mean, if it's the beach, then uh, let it be.
He's corresponding on the beach.
Yeah. All right. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by VMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what's going on?
Nothing too crazy. I have been using a lot of OpenAI, ChatGPT, and testing it out, and it's gotten a lot better. I was reading an update that apparently they released, I don't know, 4.0, 4.0, I don't know, version for the free, because I do the free, I don't do the paid. And I've noticed a significant difference in how it talks. Like, it talks more like a person now. And because I at one point I thought about paying just to get access to the updated database, I
Mm-hmm.
guess you want to call it, because when I was doing programming, version ChatGPT 3, a lot of the stuff was outdated for like the latest software stuff that I was trying to build. So I was like, oh, maybe I should pay. But then they released like a temporary free version of the 4, and now it looks like the 4 is the default, and all the extra features you have to pay for, like uploading documents to scan and image stuff. But really, just me talking to it is fine for the free version.
Nice.
So it's been really good for brainstorming and research, and it's like I have an idea for something, and like I always say, I could go to Google, but like Google is so saturated with ads that I don't know if the information it's giving me is relevant or just if they paid the most.
There were
So
a couple of stories about ChatGPT, not very favorable. Um, it's not just about ChatGPT.
OpenAI.
I guess I didn't save it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Another one
the
that I
the
hear
one,
talking about a lot is Claude, but I haven't tried it. But everybody seems to say it's a good competitor to ChatGPT.
yeah, and that was the story that they got sued. That's Anthropic, right?
I have no idea. I have I have
Yeah.
exhausted the amount of my knowledge.
But the interesting and funny thing is that Microsoft is notifying folks that its AI services should not be taken too seriously, echoing prior service specific disclaimer. In an update to its IT giant service agreement, which takes effect on September 30th, Redmond has declared that its assistive AI isn't suitable for matters of consequence. AI
Hmm.
services are not designed, intended, or to be used as substitutes for professional advice. Microsoft revised legalese explains the changes to Microsoft rules of engagement cover a few specific services, such as noting that Xbox customers should not expect privacy from platform partners. I don't know what's got to do with AI, but it's interesting that they say, "Hey, don't take our AI seriously."
But that's the thing. If you listen, right? If you actually listen
Yeah.
to anybody who's talking professionally about AI, I'm not talking about marketing, I'm
Yeah.
talking about professionally. The answer was always, right? This is very interesting. This isn't replacing anything. This is a great tool to augment whatever you're doing. It
Exactly.
might speed up things, right? But
Yeah.
it can't replace the knowledge, right? And the understanding because that does not exist yet. Remember, all the goal of the AI, and this is the key, the goal of the AI is to not provide answers, it is to mimic a conversation with another human being. And it doesn't matter if that human being is lying through his teeth or is just making up shit, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be it it's supposed to be believable, not factual, right? When it comes to tying this to factual, that is where the entire model breaks. The only way of making it factual is telling it go and do some work, right? And that part is where it leaves the AI's engines realm. It can mimic a human, but it'll mimic a human with all its flaws. Okay,
Mhm.
so um, and the thing is that tweaking how much of these flaws are coming up. That's the hard part, and that's why we are.
Well,
First of all, we need to stop calling it AI. Okay, we need to call it exactly by what we're talking about when we're talking about large language models. Okay,
Yeah, well,
it's
that's a mouthful.
specific. Yeah, it's a specific area of work inside everything, the whole canopy of AI as a research field, right? But there is no intelligence yet, not really.
no.
Okay, it's it's getting smarter and smarter, and it's doing stuff that it didn't do before that have been taught to it by the humans who are building these models and the way they interact. But it's this is currently large language model, and we need to treat it. It's an LLM, right? Uh, when we get to AI, I think in the past it was called singularity and stuff like that. When we get to a point where you're working with a sentient machine, right? That learns, that has a sense of good and evil, has morals, has that is a completely that will be a completely new beast. Large language model will be the part that we converse through, right? But behind it, it's still it's still software, right? It's still controlled by the humans who build it. It's still flawed with all of the biases and everything behind it that we've been talking about in the past few years. And yeah, it's not it's not going to replace anybody soon. I know there are a lot of people with a lot of money that would like to invest in it instead of, I don't know, hiring a professional to do the work. And yes, the professional that will know how to use a large language model for their benefit will definitely work better if they know how to use it. But the non-professional who will use the large language model to solve problems, to replace the lawyers, to all of that, right?
Hmm.
They're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. Like probably it'll probably be between I wouldn't say 100%, but it'll be anywhere between 90% to 50%. They'll fail Because if you do not have the knowledge to distinguish between a factual based um, answer, right? If you don't have the knowledge to see the lies or the made up information in the conversation, right? Then you'll fail. You remember the guy who sued Air Canada, right?
No.
For the AI chatbot that invented a policy that didn't exist.
Oh,
This is exactly what's going to happen, right? And it's going to happen a lot and lot more when these corporations they really think the marketing hype behind all of this that this can replace people. No,
It's funny.
not yet.
I look at AI as an intern. Like this is my personal intern, and they're gonna make mistakes, and I need to check everything that they do. But recently, the intern has been promoted to an entry level position because now the
Exactly.
information that it's getting for me is a lot better and more accurate for what I'm looking for. So I'm like, okay, so it's still they're gonna fumble and they're gonna make mistakes because they're entry level and this is like their first job. But the information they have upgraded from an intern to an entry level. So that's how I think about it.
did you
I don't
raise? Did you
I
raise
don't
the his
the pay.
salary? Yeah.
I was going to. I was going I thought about, paying for the professional, like I said, or paying for the subscription. But then they made it free for the upgrade for the entry level. So I was like, dang, I guess I'm just gonna have to keep taking advantage of this entry level position of AI.
Remember, the only one being taken advantage, especially when you're not paying, is you.
Yeah, well, if they want to use what I'm entering into the AI, good luck. I think I do more harm than good. In fact, they should be paying me not to use their AI.
Listen to this little story. About half of all job seekers are using AI tools to apply for roles, innuending employers and recruiters with low quality applications in an already squeezed labor market. So a lot of people are probably just telling ChatGPT, "Hey, create me an application, a job application, or
But
whatever."
Amnon, to be fair,
Yeah,
that is exactly what people should do today. They need to go to ChatGPT and say create, and
yeah,
then take that
right.
CV and edit it. That is
Okay,
exactly what people should do
that's
today.
yeah, but that's what I was going to say. And they take the output and they send that. They
Well,
don't.
I
They
mean,
don't go
they'll
through
fail.
it. Yeah,
Those who do not foolproof it,
yeah,
right? Go through it. They'll fail.
yeah. Well, that's
These
what they're talking about. About
I
that
think these
half
are
of
the
them.
same people though that would probably beforehand go and Google a template for a job application and just copy the template. So it's not that that the AI is turning good people bad or lazy. I feel like these same people would find another way to do it too.
Uh,
I got um I got a friend. He's a professor in one of the universities around, right? And he says, uh, in the past there would be like specific grammatical issues that I would that he would get stuck on when he wrote long papers, right? When he wrote an answer or a letter or just a part of a dissertation or reviewing something. And he says these days what I do is I just take what I wrote that isn't perfect yet. I dump it into the AI
mhm.
LLM, and I get back and I ask it to review it. I ask it to give me feedback about my writing. And it helps me. It shortens the time that I used to get stuck on it because in my head I would just loop in directions that wouldn't be helpful for me, right? And instead I have this model that I can converse with, and it helps me get out of that loop a lot faster. Now, instead of wasting an hour on something like this, then it takes me, 5 minutes and I'm out of it.
Yeah, it's like
And
the
that is
editing.
exactly how these tools should be used,
That's
right?
that's exactly how I used it when I was taking my summer classes too. I I would have these I'd have these brainstorm sessions where like I kind of knew what I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't exactly sure how to connect the dots. So I went to Bing because Bing has links to sources. And I'd be like, "Hey, this is what I want to talk about. These are the points. Can you help me figure out how to go about doing it?" And then they would link to articles about the thing. Like specifically, it was a marketing class, and I was asking about TikTok statistics. And I was like, okay, I want to figure out this correlation and blah blah blah. And they're like, oh yeah, well here in this article they talk about this and that and that, and it just kind of like helps get the flow started for me. And then I go and I can write my paper, and it saves so much time. Like I still
Yep.
have to write the paper,
Hmm.
but
Exactly.
it helps. Like you said with your professor friend, where I could spend 2 hours like trying to get this flow and this brainstorm thing where instead I just throw all my ideas at Bing AI and then it helps formulate it into an organized chaos.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Nice. All right, for all Windows users, Microsoft plans to phase out Windows Control Panel, a feature
They've been
dating
phasing
back
it
to
out for a while.
no, it's there.
I mean, it's there, but they've been phasing it out, right? You get
Yeah,
to
they
the
make it
settings
harder to
instead.
find.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, yeah, uh, in favor of the modern settings app. Let me tell you something. Let me finish this. According to a recent report page, the tech giant has been gradually shifting functions to settings since 2015, aiming for a more streamlined user experience. However, no specific timeline for control panel complete removal has been announced. So, yeah, God, don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
I I don't know. When I go to Windows 10, and I try to do something to the system, like to do the administrative tool to find out what drive is what the uh,
It's because you're used to the old system. I
well,
mean, the
but I
same.
could never find it in the new one. I looked and looked
I agree. There are things that are not there.
and I got to the point now whenever I have to do something in Windows, really in the back, I just I have a shortcut to control panel, the old one.
Yeah.
But in a new machine, I'll just go to the search and try type
Yeah.
control, and there is control panel, and go and you can do it. You can do anything you want. Now, I'm afraid that they're going to take a lot of these features away from you. Maybe they'll hide it real good because I don't know that they'll take it away, but it'll
I,
be really hard to service certain machine or machines that you're required to do, let's call it low level service. Low level
so
what?
the way, if we look at how Microsoft has been operating in terms of renovating their user interface across the years, right?
Yeah.
It's, this is not new in any way. They're always trying something new. And yes, it looks like they're really committed to the settings configuration. And if you look, right, the settings configuration started in, I think it started
Windows.
in Windows 8, right? The new settings paradigm, but it was really, really, really slim in Windows 8, and uh, and it grew and grew. Windows 10 and all of the updates of Windows 10 and then Windows 11 took over a lot more functionality, right? And some of this functionality is terrific, but throughout this, let's say the audio functionality, right? In the new
Yeah.
settings, it is phenomenal. It's excellent. It's really, really good compared to what you had in the past with the control panel. You could do exactly the same things, right? But the flow, the interface makes a lot more sense. but the control panel for sound is still there,
Hmm.
and I don't think they're gonna kick it out ever. Like, it will be counterproductive for them to do it, unless, some, I don't know, security vulnerability is gonna be found there, and that would be a reason to kick it out because nobody's going to maintain it. That I would take, but it's that fluff will remain because taking it out is going to be much more painful for them to actually do that, right? So, will it linger there forever? I do not know. But when it does disappear, it'll disappear because nobody's using it. That's
Well,
that's the way
yeah,
I
if
see it.
it's not usable, it's fine. I have no.
Right. Look, uh, they've finally replaced Notepad, right, with something else, like the new Notepad. It's still called Notepad, but its functionality has been revamped, right? It has tabbed interface now. It it's suddenly a much more usable editor, right? And nobody can say that Notepad wasn't used, right? Notepad was probably one of the most used application that is baked into the system, even unintentionally, because people just double click the text file or something. So, um, things will change, but things will disappear only where they are not usable, like, completely anymore. So, yeah, I wonder what the agenda of whoever wrote about it and why they didn't have something new to write about, or because it doesn't feel like this has come out of an announcement from Microsoft. So, like, what triggered this discussion? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I went to. I mean, the thing that I use, the sound, which I also have a shortcut to,
Hmm.
is mainly to set up the uh what is it, the megahertz? No, the kilo.
Yeah, the frequency of
Yeah, the
the
frequency. I don't. I. I mean,
the encoding, basically.
I'm looking here in the new one, in Windows 10, in sound, in advance, in everything. I don't see it anywhere. Everything is just volume and which device you want to use where. I even went to manage devices. Nothing. There is nothing. Advanced sound options is just volume and device preferences. There is
But you
sound.
have you have at the bottom
Oh,
more
there it is.
sound settings,
Yeah, and
and
there's
that opens the
sound.
old one.
The sound control panel. Yeah, then it goes to
Yeah,
the old one. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe what will happen is that control panel centric view, where it all of the
All the
categories,
yeah.
yeah, maybe that will go. Maybe that, because that's basically just like
A splash page for all the other
sort of,
ones.
yeah, they call it I think they call it special folders in the back, in the back end, and it has basically a GUID. If you know that GUID, that ID, you can create a shortcut to that GUID and it'll open, right? So maybe that is going away, because maintaining that means that they need to, let's say they are creating something new, some new setting for, I don't know, security or something like that, right? Then they need to somehow mimic it in the control panel as well as in the setting, and they want to go away with it.
Oh,
I agree with you. Probably the easiest way to access these today is the search, right?
yeah.
Um, it isn't perfect, but by the way, I've stopped using the start menu for a long time. I'm using Power Tools from Microsoft
Hmm.
called Power Run. I think that's the name. Uh, where it's mapped to It maps to a keyboard. In my case, it's the Windows in space, and it just gives me a line in the middle of the screen where I can search. And the reason I'm using that is because this mechanism can it already comes with a set of built-in plugins, but there's also external plugins to third-party tools, and this allows me just to search, right, and tweak the search. So if I'm looking for settings, then I have like a prefix that I can put there, and I'll just get results of settings. But even if I didn't put that, it'll search everywhere like the way I want it to do. So that's much more convenient than me remembering the menu tree, right? If you remember, back in XP, control panel had a certain look, right?
Mhm.
And then in Windows 7, it had a different look, and people were complaining of why did you
Sure.
recategorize or create that, right? And then in Windows 10, there was this is going to happen again and again and again, but there's one interface that's probably going to be the most beneficial for you, and it's just use the smarts of the machine to shortcut through all that. You don't need to remember the shortcut. You don't need even to keep the shortcut. You just need to remember a phrase that has any meaning to it, and you'll get there, right? So that is probably a part that a large language model embedded in the OS will probably be helpful in the future more and more and more, right? Because you'll tell the machine what you want to change and it'll open the right interface for you,
Mhm.
the one that is exactly matches the
No,
need.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that they're doing is Microsoft is making BitLocker device encryption a default feature in its next major update to Windows 11. If
Okay.
you clean install the 24H2 version that's rolling out in the coming months, device encryption will be enabled by default when you first signed in or set up a device with a Microsoft account or work/school account. I
Um,
don't think any of my drives are
no,
BitLocked.
no.
No.
Let's put it this way: on a laptop, that is very good practice,
Yes, so in case
very
you lose
important.
it. Yeah.
But right, there's a huge but here. Um, BitLocker comes with a risk. So I think most of our listeners wouldn't know
What to
what BitLocker is or
right.
how it looks like, right? The idea of BitLocker is the partition the OS is running on is completely encrypted, and it's encrypted by the OS. So the bootloader, uh, you remember when we boot the machine, you get today, right? You get a logo, usually of the brand of the motherboard, and then the OS loads. That that logo that shows up there, that's part of the bootloader, also called EUEFI, right? So um, that is a mini OS basically that's entire purpose is to just load another OS, sort of. Okay, I'm really oversimplifying it.
Okay, yeah, but that's
And
fine.
right, and what that does is so that part remains unencrypted because the bootloader, the machine's bootloader UEFI firmware, it needs to be able to read that, read the instructions there, and then it'll start the OS from the encrypted part. Now, in order for that to work, that encryption needs to be unlocked first. People who use their phone, right, and this is true for Android um, and Apple, and choose to encrypt. And today, that's usually the default or the recommended setting. That pin that you need to put in at the beginning of the boot cycle is exactly to do that. Is to load the rest of the OS because everything else is encrypted. So the risk that goes with that is, okay, what happens? Let's say the machine crashed. Okay, not talking about anything malicious.
Mhm.
Just something happened, crashed. When that happens, there is a slight risk that upon boot, it wouldn't be able to find the encryption key to decode
Mhm.
it, and it'll require, or the cached one or whatever, and it'll require the code to be entered, and you need to save that code somewhere else in advance, right? So you need to remember to do that, because otherwise you're locked out of your system,
Yep.
and all of the data is lost because there is no way to unencrypt the drive. These are not Word document passwords that are easy to crack. This is impossible. Okay. So losing access to your data on your local machine, right, is going to be very painful. Now, the marketing drive behind all of this is Microsoft. When you buy their OS, one of the first things that they shove up your throat is OneDrive, right? Same with Apple,
Yeah.
the iCloud, right? Um, so they will tell you, make sure everything is backed up through iCloud, right, or OneDrive. So that is that is the marketing drive. So in the name of helping you keep your data safe, right? Pay us, and we'll store everything for you online, where we can have full access to your data, basically. Uh, and on your physical device, make sure everything is encrypted. If you have it on a desktop, I would say meh, unless you have some concerns that somebody will have physical access to your desktop. Um, if it's that important. Otherwise, I would say I don't think I don't think you should bother, because the trouble you're getting yourself into is probably more than you expect. Now, on a laptop, I would say, yeah, that's an excellent idea. Just make sure you have a backup to somewhere that you can have access if you lose the encryption keys.
What does that key look like?
So at first, it'll set up a pin of some sort. I think 6 or 8
Okay.
characters or something like that, right? That's what it will ask you to do. But when something happens, you need to it'll ask you for a recovery key, and that recovery key is like 64 characters. It's like a very long string of
So
characters,
you don't set
numbers
it
and
up,
letters.
they do,
It's set up by the
by
process
the machine.
automatically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you a file that you should save somewhere that will provide you access. um, in enterprise settings, what they do is, it's not a singular key, and that key rotates. And so, let's say my laptop that the company gave me, right? If I forget my pin, or something happened, and suddenly a corruption happened somewhere that causes the keys to reset, then they have in their Active Directory, they have the last key that was assigned, and that rotates on like uh, every few hours. I doubt Microsoft is going to do that with their Microsoft accounts, right? So that you will be able, maybe you'll be able to get your recovery key from Microsoft if your machine is managed by the Microsoft account, right? Which is mandatory at this point, right? They're making it very hard to
Yeah.
use local only. But it's like, understand what it means. It's not bad. It's good if you need it, right? It's not bad if you don't need it. And understand whether you need it or not, to be able to switch it off or whatever comes up, if especially if you're talking about a desktop at home, right?
Yeah.
Like something that physically doesn't move and it's always under your control. And you do not have anything, oversensitive there, right? Like if that's the place where you keep your cryptocurrency keys, right? That cryptocurrency key file needs to be encrypted, and yes, it should be on an encrypted drive. I agree, right? But if that's not the case, then yeah, maybe a laptop, but on a desktop, think twice.
Good. All right. Um, the only one that I know that I've seen one of those Echo Show is Jacob, who's listening. You know people that have the Echo Show?
I have one.
Um,
That
Are you talking about the brick
it's
screen thing?
yeah, it's the Echo
Yeah,
that
I like it.
well, Amazon is canceling its Photo Plus subscription service for the Echo Show 8 Photos Edition, effectively ending the device's main selling point.
Hmm.
The company will automatically cancel all Photo Plus subscriptions on September 12th and cease support for this service on September 23rd. The Echo Show 8 Photos Edition, launched in September 2023, allowed users to display personal photos indefinitely on the home screen for a $2 monthly fee.
Hmm.
Without Photos Plus, the device will revert to showing ads and promotions after 3 hours, like standard Echo Show 8 models. Amazon's spokesperson says that the Photos edition was discontinued in March, citing regular product evaluation based on customer feedback. Users can still display photos on the device, but not indefinitely. The move has sparked criticism from customers who paid a $10 premium for ad-free photo display.
Hmm. I don't use it for photos. I set mine to where it only shows random art pieces and the weather. And every now and then it tries to show me an ad, uh, but it's very rare. Granted, I don't look at it all day. It's in my kitchen,
Uh-huh.
so when I wake up and go make coffee, I can see what the weather forecast is. Uh, but I mean, I like it. It does exactly what I need, which is show me the weather.
Interesting. I mean, if people paid them $10 a month, maybe not many
a
people
year,
paid it.
10
So
bucks,
what?
10 bucks a year, no?
Uh,
Oh, he said no.
I don't know. It says who paid $10 premium. I have no idea if it's a year,
Yeah, one
but
time I
it's
think when
two
you
dollars a
buy it, you
month.
can buy it with or without offers.
Oh,
So
I guess not enough people used it. I mean, because they wouldn't get rid of a service if a lot of people use it and they're making a ton of money off of it.
I mean, they gave the service for free and
and
people weren't using it.
Yeah,
That's the thing,
it's
right?
it's hard because it's a very competitive market. Because there's all kinds of like digital frames that hook up to like Google Images and all kinds of stuff.
oh,
The thing is, people want people do want to see their own photos. People do not want to pay a subscription to see their own photo.
Mm,
They've made the photos, right?
yep,
There is no
exactly.
reason in hell for me to pay a subscription to see my photos. So, uh, and today, no tech company wants to create something they cannot charge a subscription for.
You know, speaking about that, I'm so frustrated with subscriptions stuff because it's just so astronomically expensive for not as much value, in my opinion. But I actually bought some software a couple weeks ago, and it was not a subscription fee. It was a flat $60 fee. I bought it. This is the version I have, and if I ever want to upgrade, I have to pay a little bit more, whatever it is. But I'm fine with that. So for $60, I get out of the box software that does what I need to do, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Because 'Cause I was
Yeah,
worried it was gonna be a subscription, and if it's a subscription, I usually just say, "Screw it."
and that model is getting harder and harder to find because it is not sustainable in the long run for those producers of software. I mean, look at the big ones. Look at Microsoft, right? They we always hear, like, I think every 6 months there's some news article about how they're trying to figure out how to make the OS a subscription, right? Because they're not making the money compared to what they're not accruing. There's no new anybody who already has Windows is not buying another Windows. Okay, it's rarely a thing. So they have their deals with OEM and all that where they get a cut of the sale, but that's where that's coming, and they do not control that revenue. It's it's a good revenue, but it's not like they cannot correctly predict it. And subscription is something that allows these companies a lot more control over the future. That's the only reason um, the move to subscription is so big. And yeah, and you see more and more software doing that, right? And the moment and usually the softwares that transition successfully, right? The transition means a lot more for them. So yeah, one of the things we're going to see more and more from Amazon, I'm thinking, is we're going to see less and less stuff packed in to the already subscription you already have, right? We've seen how music, which started to be part of Prime at the beginning, dropped away, right? I am guessing that at one point, if they see an uptick in usage of their Video Prime subscription, then that will also become its own separate subscription because they'll want to make more out of it. I think they already did actually. The now it's with ads, right? And you can pay to get rid of the ads, right? So basically, they already started that transition.
That
So
that concept isn't necessarily a new concept because what businesses will do is that they'll offer a free thing or a new product to their existing customers to test the market and to get their customers hooked on it. And then like you said, they deviate and they're like, okay, well, now we offered it for free for this limited time, but now you got to pay for the full service or whatever it is.
right, but with Amazon Prime and video, right? For 10 years, it was there, and the word temporary or limited time was never part of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. The shift is going to happen anyway. It's whether they thought about it in advance or not. It's going to happen because the
Amazon,
moment they can charge successfully for a subscription, then they control the revenue a lot more.
I think Amazon might shoot themselves in the foot because from a business perspective, them waiting so long to separate Prime Video is probably because, and I'm making a general statement here, that their content wasn't up to snuff. Like if they separated Prime Video, the Netflix just dominated. Like for 15 years, Netflix just dominated the market. And so it
True.
wasn't enough for customers to sustain a separate Prime thing, so they included it as a service for Amazon Prime. And recently, my guess is that Amazon thought that the new Lord of the Rings show that they were working on was going to be as big as Game of Thrones was for HBO, and Game of Thrones has sustained HBO. I mean, it's like revitalized it as far as in popular culture and getting people to pay for the premium subscription, which now isn't a premium subscription anymore because everybody is 15 $20 a month. But from what I've heard, the Lord of the Rings stuff is not isn't anywhere near the popularity of Game of Thrones. So that's why I say they kind of baked it all on this one egg of Lord of the Rings, but apparently a lot of the fans don't like it. So
It's not just Lord of the Rings. By the way, the show itself, I don't think I've heard anything bad about it, but it's just uh, it didn't it didn't pull the same
no, you should hear
gravitas,
my
right?
friends talk about it. They hated it, absolutely hated it.
Hmm. Interesting. To go back to uh, subscriptions, this is even happening in Delta Force. There are many organizations they that don't want to pay by the month, and they ask, "Well, I'm not. I mean, can we pay a year in advance?" And yes, they can. I mean, the mechanism is there to do that. All they have to do is just put it, and it goes on their credit, and then it deducts it once a month. But what it does that I don't like is that many of them choose to pay in the beginning of the year. And what I see is in the first month or two, there's a lot of money in the bank, and you pay bills that you normally spread the payment. And when that money is down, now the rest of the year, you only get the people that pay it by the month. And so it's not it's enough to pay all the bills and do everything, but it's not a good way to manage it. And I'm trying to figure out a way how to do it
Well,
better.
there's another. So this is true for all subscription businesses, uh, and the way that I understand it's done is you keep the funds that are not yet active, you keep them separate in
Ooh,
some sort of account that that produces a bit
interest.
interest. Yeah, that produces interest because usually by the contract, right, is if somebody stops their subscription, you need to refund them.
Well, not in Delta Force. I say that there are no refunds. If you want to pay from the beginning, and that's it. When if you
Okay. I I mean, even with
yeah, but anyway,
insurance, right? Your car insurance, you can pay upfront the 6 month, or you can pay month to month, right?
yeah,
And the difference is the interest, basically. And so that's
it's a lot of management.
Well,
that requires additional management.
Yeah,
Yeah, that requires a separate account where you need to then move
yeah.
only what's relevant, and you're doing it on your end. But that's the way to do it because you are not guaranteed
That's
for that
the
money
only
yet.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
why
So
why didn't you? I mean, instead of doing a year, you can do the 6 months. So then, I mean, it's not every month, but it's not a year. But it they only have to worry about it twice a year, every
yeah,
six
but
months.
it's the same management. Even if it's 2 months, it's the same management.
No,
You
but what I'm
cannot
saying
guarantee
is
that the
his
activity of the next month will be the same. So
no. But he said his issue is that all of the money comes in at the beginning of the year, and he
Not,
wants it
well,
spread
no,
out.
no, no. A lot of the money comes at the beginning of the year, and
Well, if
then
you want it spread out, instead of offering a year, do 6 months. That way the customer's happy because they don't have to worry about it every month. You're happy because it's not all in one time. And so it like splits the difference.
yeah, that's
well,
not necessarily beneficial for Amnon, for Delta Force.
well, no. I mean, it would be better.
Well,
Gosh.
yeah, Aman said his issue is that it all comes in, or most of it
Yeah, I
comes in
understand. I
at
understand.
at the beginning. So make it so it's 6 months or 8 months or 9 months or whatever.
Good. Something to think about. Yeah, I never thought about this.
Like, it doesn't have to be a year just because the year is a standard for big companies. I mean, you're a small business. It's a way to compromise where the customer is
Yeah,
happy and you're happy.
yeah, yeah.
You know Robinhood, the
Mm-hmm.
financial service.
Mm-hmm.
So they have something called a gold account. I think it costs $5 a month. Okay, and the money in the gold account, I'm talking about, it's as available as a checking account. Okay, so it's not like an IRA or a savings account where you're limited to that produces 5% yearly APR, like right, which is huge for a checking account,
Yeah.
right? If you do the math and you put a year's worth of money there and you just pull what you need out of it, right, when it comes, then it's a win-win for you, right? If you put it in some sort of account like this that generates some revenue for Delta Force, right? I don't know. You need to check if it's viable for a business. I don't know if it's something they can, or you must be an individual. But if you understand what I'm saying, it's like there's a way of making it work for you. That yes, there's a hassle, but maybe you make something out of that hassle that is worth your while. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. The worth my while is the question here.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
it's not that uh it dries out the account during the rest of the
Yeah,
year,
but
and I mean,
it's
but it's I mean, you look at it and you said, okay, I'm not going to pay
I'm
this.
not rich
Yeah,
because yeah, it's tapered off.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
it's fine. Let's go to something else. Last week we were talking about Sonos. So now they're saying the old Sonos app won't be making a return to replace the buggy new version, according to Sonos CEO Patrick Spence. Re releasing the old app would make things worse now that updated software has already been sent out to the company's speakers and cloud infrastructure.
He's
Apparently,
completely
people.
right. He's completely right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you put
I,
something
I
new there.
understand how software works, and
Yeah,
he's completely right.
yeah. So, but I guess a lot of people ask that because they don't understand software. They were saying, "Hey, why don't you bring back the old one?"
Yeah,
And
no,
that you
that
can't.
ship has sailed. I mean,
Yeah,
they need to fix whatever they need to fix as fast as possible and focus on that instead of making the old one viable again.
right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I've had like an ordeal with the Sonos app. I don't know if it's the Sonos app or not, for example, but my parents, I bought them probably 4 years ago, Sonos speakers,
Mm-hmm.
and I've noticed, and I asked them this week if they've been using it, and for a long time they haven't been using it, and I asked them why, and then I remembered they had their Wi-Fi replaced or something like that like a year ago,
And it stopped working.
and they haven't even noticed. That's the thing.
Yeah,
It's like they would use it rarely,
yeah.
uh, and I said, okay, let's fix it, and spend about 2 hours, right? So getting it reconnected, that was easy. About 10 minutes it took, and everything was reconnected. Their software, I gotta say, for something that deals, I was connected remotely to my mom's phone, right? Controlling her phone. So we were on Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth was connected and all that. And so updating the speakers, even though they weren't connected to the Wi-Fi network correctly, was easy. Not too complex. It's
Okay.
the instructions were clear, so they did a good job in designing that interface. But I wanted to enable Google Assistant there, right? Because we use YouTube Music, and I wanted the Google Assistant voice interface. That's the only one that works with YouTube Music. Sonos's own voice interface does not work with that, and Alexa doesn't work with that either. So uh, that didn't work. Spent about 2 hours trying to figure out if there's another way to do it or something, trying trial and error, nothing. And reading into others' experience, this might not work for them for some reason. It works for me, it doesn't work for them. Maybe because they're in Israel and it isn't supported there. Maybe I couldn't figure it out anyway,
Mm.
right? So, uh, yeah, so they need to make sure that that stuff works. I think the main complaint today is accessibility. It's completely off the charts there. It worked perfectly for vision impaired and people, and now like it's completely useless for them. That stuff needs to be worked at. And they pushed software too early, which is a tendency of every software company to assess incorrectly the amount of time it's going to take to develop software.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, and it's a shame, but
But you got it.
it's what it is. Yeah.
Did you finish it?
I mean, everything's working except the Google Assistant.
Okay.
They'll work with the app.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just they didn't work with it before. Now they need to learn how to work with the app. Not a big deal.
All right. Now listen to this. A federal judge blocked the launch of Venu, a sports streaming joint venture by Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers Discovery, due to concerns it would substantially lessen competition and harm Fubo TV. That's coming from Variety. Because I don't know what Fubo
Yeah, who runs Fubo?
has that uh, this big venture between those three guys is going to harm them.
I think I feel like they show soccer.
What?
Uh, Fubu.
Yeah.
I think it's soccer streaming.
It is a
Live
streaming service.
sports. It's live sports.
Yeah, but
Oh,
you're talking about why people watch it or whatever. I
Yeah,
think a
but
lot of it is soccer.
what I don't get is the federal. I mean, I understand
federal
that this is
judge.
probably an injunction
Yeah.
filed by Fubo, right? And that's probably
Apparently, they
why.
don't say
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but apparently.
That's probably why they're intervening. Fubo is a service that was founded 9 years ago with a revenue of 1.37 billion. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's not a small company. It's an over $1 billion company. Who's controlling them? Let's see. I see names. I do not see. I do not know enough about
Okay.
Sling TV. Okay, stuff like that. That's probably some sort of. Yeah, feels. I mean, it feels nice that Disney got stopped somehow from doing something
Yeah,
for a
but I
while,
mean, this
but it's just gonna be for a while.
this sounds
I
to me like interference with
yeah.
with commerce. I mean, if two companies, three companies decide to get together and do something that they are doing anyway, who's the
Well,
court to come and say no? You're going to interfere.
I have no problem with the interference in the market if it's the same interference across the board.
Yeah,
wait.
That's the
So
thing.
but wait.
this is a slippery slope because
Exactly.
there are laws about businesses. Businesses cannot come together and decide on a set price to eliminate competition between each other.
Right.
Uh, and because then it's not true like it's not true marketing dictate the price. It's all of the brands getting together and be like, hey, I won't undercut you if you don't undercut me. So that's illegal. And so I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but It's like
No,
they have
this is three big companies decided to have their own venture. They're
No, I
creating,
know.
yeah,
But if these 3 companies that were competitors have now decided to come together and say, "Hey, let's not compete with each other. We'll do this one thing," that it easily can form into a
okay,
monopoly for the consumer.
true,
You wanna talk about the marketplace dictating, competition, like this it's again, they're kind of vague terms, and we don't know the details,
right.
but there are laws in place so the consumer is protected.
Well, this here is not just a consumer protected; it's another uh, company that does the same, a competitor. They are the judge ruled this way because this big venture is going to hurt a competitor. This is like the old days when Walmart came to town and little mom and pop stores were trying to stop them because they'll put them out of business. But look today.
Yeah, but it's one of those things too where it's like,
They did put them out of business.
Yeah, they
You were
did,
right.
and there
Yeah.
are multiple WalMarts, and
Yeah.
people go there and all that.
if I was
It's
Fubo, I'd do the same thing. Be like, "Hey, we were
Yeah.
competing individually, and now these 3 other kids decided to team up together. Like, we need to do individual again." Again, that's just
So
uh,
breaking
so
down the
here's the thing.
monopolies.
Fubo is getting quite a bit of its content already from the Walt Disney Company, right? ESPN, they own ESPN, and so once Walt Disney and Warner Brothers and Fox, right? Once they start cooperating and creating their own content, what will happen is that they'll price out Fubo. So
Which
this
is
is
yeah,
yeah,
that's
that
fine.
right. That coalition is specifically targeting a successful business like Fubo, and that's the source of the antitrust lawsuit that Fubo has filed. Uh, so I understand Fubo's side of it, right? What I do not, what we're not seeing yet, because it's not there yet, is where this is going to go. Because usually, what happens in with these antitrust lawsuits, right, is they stop progression of a certain plan, and that plan will just shift and change to a different plan, and that will go ahead. It's not as if this is going to stop the Walt Disney Company and Warner Brothers from going on this route, but it's definitely going to change the terms of the agreements.
Doesn't Disney own Fox?
They own they own what used to be 20th Century Fox and all that. For example, Fox News they've never taken. I don't know what is the Fox Corporation. I thought also that it's part of Disney, but maybe on the sports side they don't
well, I
control
mean,
everything.
we'll see how it goes. I mean, uh,
The motion picture, cable entertainment, and direct broadcast satellite division of 21st Century Fox. So Fox Corporation still exists as its own thing. It used to be 21st Century Fox,
mhm.
and then Disney bought a huge chunk out of it, but it still remained Fox Corporation. So whatever Disney didn't buy from
Still
Fox
operates on its own.
remains Fox Corporation. Before
Yeah.
that, it was 21st Century Fox. I went to see the new Aliens film in cinema, and I noticed the fanfare at the beginning, same fanfare, but does not say 21st Century Fox. It says 21st Century Studios.
That
So
makes me think of did you ever watch the cartoon Futurama? Uh
uh,
Yeah.
I saw maybe one
oh,
episode.
Futurama
Yeah, I know about it. But
Yeah, Futurama at the beginning also didn't. It was like 21st Century Fox, but it was like 31st Century Fox. Like they changed it because it was
Yeah.
set in the future.
Huh. All
Yeah, I
right.
remember I created once a fanfare opening like that for a family memorabilia video for a 70s birthdays of somebody.
Nice.
All right, guys, it's this time. Anybody wants to add anything?
Eh.
Everything's cool.
Yep.
All right. So thanks, Katie. Thanks, Gal. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Dana, Tina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers Took Out. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner, and change any same passwords where you use them. Excuse me. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And on Twitch, Nick and Brian do the Infection podcast about survival games, gaming news, and some politics. So you just need to go to infectionpodcast.com and find out when the live show is that given week, or you can just download the last show and listen to it. Have a great week, and we'll be back together next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.